Imagine walking into a room and instantly feeling something is off. You don't have proof. No one has said anything strange. But your gut is already telling you there's more going on beneath the surface. For an INFJ, this isn't just an occasional feeling, it's a constant reality. Their ability to see straight through people is like having emotional X-ray vision. It's powerful, it's insightful, and it can be overwhelming. This gift comes from a combination of their introverted intuition, deep empathy, and ability to notice subtle patterns in human behavior. They pick up micro-expressions, tone shifts, and inconsistencies so quickly that they often know when something isn't genuine before the other person has finished their sentence. They can sense the tension between words and emotions, and they instinctively start piecing together the bigger picture. But here's the other side of that coin. It's exhausting. Seeing through people means constantly processing complex emotional information. While others might take interactions at face value, INFJs are decoding motives, hidden feelings, and unspoken truths in real time. That level of awareness demands energy. It's not just about catching lies or spotting bad intentions. Sometimes it's seeing pain that someone is hiding, sensing that a friend is struggling before they admit it, or knowing that a coworker's cheerful act is just a mask for stress. While these insights can make the INFJ a compassionate friend and a wise guide, they also place a heavy emotional load on them. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Over time, this constant awareness can leave the INFJ drained. They may feel like they're carrying other people's unspoken emotions along with their own. And since they care deeply, it's hard for them to simply ignore what they've noticed. They may step in to help, listen, or offer comfort, even if they don't have the energy to spare. In this video, we're going to explore 6 specific ways INFJs see straight through people. Each one will show not only how this perception works, but why it can be so mentally and emotionally tiring. By the end, you'll have a clearer picture of why INFJs often need more rest, solitude, and boundaries than others might expect, and why protecting this rare gift is just as important as using it. Way number 1, instant pattern recognition. One of the most defining ways an INFJ sees through people is their ability to recognize patterns almost instantly. This comes from their introverted intuition, which works behind the scenes to connect pieces of information quickly and form a clear impression. For example, they might meet someone for the first time, and, after a few minutes of conversation, notice subtle links between that person's word choices, tone, and body language. If the story doesn't match the energy they're giving off, the INFJ picks up on it immediately. They're not always consciously looking for these patterns. It's more like the brain is constantly scanning for inconsistencies in the background. This instant pattern recognition can feel almost psychic to others, but it's not magic. It's the result of years of observing people deeply and storing those observations in their memory. When a new situation comes along, the INFJ's mind pulls up similar past experiences and matches them to the present, creating a quick understanding of what might really be happening. The challenge is that once they spot a pattern, they can't just unknow it. If they notice that someone repeats certain excuses before letting others down, they start anticipating the letdown long before it happens. If they sense that someone's overly charming behavior matches a pattern they've seen in manipulative people before, they may already be cautious without the person doing anything overtly wrong in the moment. While this is a powerful tool for protecting themselves and others, it's also mentally demanding. The INFJ's brain is constantly working even in casual settings. They might be at a social gathering, trying to relax, but their mind keeps connecting dots and spotting patterns in how people interact. Over time, this mental activity can be just as tiring as physical work. Another difficulty is that others don't always appreciate or understand these insights. If the INFJ voices their concerns early, they can be accused of being suspicious judgmental, or overthinking. This can lead them to keep their observations to themselves, which means they're carrying the mental weight of what they've noticed without being able to share it. That secrecy adds another layer of emotional strain. In short, instant pattern recognition allows INFJs to see through facades quickly and accurately, but it also means they rarely get to fully switch off their awareness, which can be exhausting over time. Way number 2, empathetic mirror. The second way INFJs see straight through people is by acting as an empathetic mirror. This means they don't just observe someone's emotions, they reflect them back in a way that reveals more than the other person intended to show. When someone speaks to an INFJ, the INFJ's deep empathy tunes into the emotional tone behind the words. They naturally adjust their own expression, tone, and energy to match what they sense. This mirroring creates a feeling of safety and understanding, which often leads the other person to open up more. Sometimes, the person doesn't even realize they're revealing more than they planned. They might start with a light conversation, but because the INFJ is reflecting their emotions so accurately, they feel understood and lower their guard. This often brings hidden worries, fears, or truths to the surface. For the INFJ, this is not a calculated tactic, it's instinct. They care about how people feel, and they want to create connection. But the effect is that they end up seeing far deeper into someone's emotional state than most others could. They pick up on subtle shifts, a pause before an answer, a forced laugh, or a change in eye contact that hints at something unsaid. This ability can be deeply rewarding, especially in relationships where emotional openness is valued. It allows the INFJ to connect with others on a profound level. But it also comes with a cost. By mirroring someone's emotions, the INFJ temporarily holds those feelings within themselves. If the emotions are heavy, grief, anxiety, shame, they feel that weight as if it were their own. Doing this with many people, or for extended periods, drains their emotional reserves quickly. Another challenge is that not everyone wants to be seen so clearly. Some people are comfortable keeping their struggles hidden, and when an INFJ unintentionally reflects those emotions back, it can make the other person uncomfortable or defensive. In these cases, the INFJ may feel they've crossed an invisible line, even though they were simply being present and empathetic. Because of this, INFJs often walk away from interactions feeling both enriched and exhausted. They have built a meaningful connection, but they've also taken on an emotional load they now have to process and release. If they don't get the time and space to do that, the weight compounds, leading to emotional fatigue and eventually burnout. Way number 3, skeletal truth. Decoding. INFJs have a knack for peeling back the layers of what someone is saying until they reach the skeletal truth. This isn't just about spotting obvious lies. It's about detecting when the truth has been shaped, softened, or partially hidden. They do this by sensing emotional tone misalignment, which means the emotional energy doesn't match the words being spoken. For example, someone might say, "I'm fine," but their voice is flat, their shoulders are slumped, and their eyes dart away. To most people, this could be overlooked as mild tiredness. But to the INFJ, it's a clear signal that the words are a mask. They begin to mentally strip away the surface until they reach what they believe is the underlying reality. This decoding is not an active interrogation, it's subconscious. The INFJ's mind gathers all available cues, micro-expressions, pauses, the choice of certain words over others, and even the timing of responses. Over years of observation, they've built an internal database of these cues, and they can match them to likely truths very quickly. The challenge with skeletal truth decoding is that once an INFJ perceives the hidden truth, they can feel a responsibility to address it. If a friend says they're okay, but the INFJ senses they're struggling, they may feel compelled to dig deeper or offer support. This is part of their caring nature, but it can lead them into emotionally heavy territory without warning. Another issue is that this ability can make relationships complicated. People may not always be ready to share their real feelings, and when the INFJ hints that they've noticed something, it can cause discomfort or defensiveness. The INFJ must constantly decide whether to act on their insight or keep it to themselves. Both choices can be draining for different reasons. Over time, this constant decoding can wear them out. It's like being fluent in a language that everyone else is speaking unconsciously. You can't help but translate, even when you wish you could just tune it out. Way number 4, multi-layered. Listening. When most people listen, they focus on the words being said. INFJs listen to multiple layers at once: the content, the emotional tone, the pace, the pauses, and even the silences. They're highly attuned to what isn't being said, and that's often where the most telling information lies. In a conversation, an INFJ might notice that someone avoids certain topics, rushes through certain parts of a story, or hesitates before answering specific questions. Each of these details is filed away in their mind and often combined into a larger understanding of what's going on. This type of listening means the INFJ processes far more information than the average person during a single interaction. While others may walk away with a general sense of the conversation, the INFJ leaves with a detailed mental map of emotional undercurrents, inconsistencies, and possible motivations. The advantage of multi-layered listening is that it allows them to understand people deeply and respond in ways that truly address the heart of the matter. They can offer support that feels incredibly personal and specific, which often makes others feel valued and understood. The downside is that it's mentally exhausting. Holding that much information in their awareness takes focus and energy, especially when the emotional tone is heavy. Even casual conversations can become draining if the INFJ is subconsciously tracking all these layers without a break. Another challenge is that this skill makes it hard for them to ignore red flags. If they notice something troubling beneath the surface, it stays with them long after the conversation ends. They may replay the interaction in their mind, analyzing every pause or shift in tone, trying to piece together a clearer picture. This ongoing mental processing can keep them from fully relaxing. Multi-layered listening is a gift for building strong connections, but it also means the INFJ rarely experiences a truly light social interaction. Every conversation becomes a puzzle they can't help but solve, and solving puzzles, especially emotional ones, takes a lot out of them. Way number 5, overthinking to clarity. INFJs are known for overthinking, but in their case, it often leads to remarkable clarity. After an interaction, they replay it in detail, considering not just what was said, but the meaning behind it, the emotional context, and possible hidden motivations. While some might see overthinking as a flaw, for the INFJ, it's part of their process for truly understanding people. They sift through every piece of the interaction like a detective reviewing evidence, looking for patterns and connections they might have missed in the moment. For example, if a colleague at work makes a casual comment about being too busy to take on more, the INFJ might recall that 2 weeks ago the same colleague said they were excited for new projects. The shift in attitude becomes a point of curiosity. Why the change? They'll consider possible reasons, like hidden stress, workplace conflicts, or personal challenges, and this reflection may later help them approach the colleague with understanding or support. The issue is that this kind of deep analysis takes time and mental energy. If the INFJ has multiple such interactions in a day, they may spend hours processing them all. While this can lead to valuable insights, it also keeps their mind in a constant state of activity, even when they're trying to rest. Overthinking to clarity can also become emotionally heavy if the situations they're analyzing involve conflict, dishonesty, irony, or pain. The INFJ's empathy makes them feel these situations deeply, and replaying them means reliving those emotions multiple times. Another difficulty is that their conclusions, while often accurate, can't always be shared. They may see a truth about someone's motives or struggles that the person isn't ready to face. Keeping this to themselves adds an extra layer of emotional weight, because they're holding information they can't act on. For the INFJ, overthinking is both a tool and a burden. It sharpens their understanding of people and situations, but it also keeps their mind working long after others have moved on. That constant mental activity contributes to the overall exhaustion of seeing through people so clearly. Way number 6, TrustBased Radar. The final way INFJs see straight through people is by sensing whether someone's openness or guardedness matches their deeper values. This isn't about instantly judging people as good or bad. It's about intuitively reading whether the trust being shown feels authentic or performative. When meeting someone new, an INFJ doesn't just listen to what they say. They observe the quality of their openness. If someone shares personal details too quickly, the INFJ might sense that the disclosure isn't genuine vulnerability, but rather a tactic to create false intimacy. On the other hand, if someone is extremely guarded, the INFJ will often pick up on whether that guardedness comes from caution due to past hurt or from an unwillingness to be honest. This trust-based radar comes from a deep awareness of human values and motivations. INFJs are highly attuned to whether someone's actions align with the principles they claim to hold. They can sense when generosity is truly selfless versus when it's a way to gain influence. They can detect when kindness is real versus when it's being used to manipulate perceptions. The challenge is that this level of perception can make relationships complicated from the start. If the INFJ senses a mismatch between someone's words and underlying motives, it's hard for them to fully relax or invest trust. They might remain polite and engaged on the surface, but keep an emotional distance internally. Over time, this cautiousness can be tiring. Constantly evaluating the authenticity of others' trust signals means they're rarely able to simply take things at face value. Even in relationships that are ultimately positive, the INFJ may need weeks or months to fully feel at ease, because they're continually cross-referencing behaviors and values in their mind. This trust-based radar is an incredible asset when it comes to protecting themselves and others from manipulation. However, it also means they live with an ongoing mental checklist in every relationship. The more people they interact with, the more they have to run these subtle evaluations, and the cumulative effect is exhausting. In the end, this way of seeing through people is less about reading obvious cues and more about sensing alignment, or lack of alignment, between someone's outer persona and their inner truth. It's powerful, but it's also one more reason the INFJ's gift of perception can leave them deeply drained. For INFJs, seeing through people means constant mental and emotional processing. Each interaction becomes an intricate web of signals to decode, patterns to track, and truths to uncover. While this brings insight and protection, it also demands enormous energy. They carry others' unspoken emotions, confront hidden motives, and navigate unspoken tensions, all without switching off. Over time, this relentless awareness leaves them emotionally depleted, requiring long periods of solitude to recover. Without intentional boundaries, their greatest gift can become their heaviest burden. INFJ's insight is rare and powerful, but it comes at a cost. Protecting this gift means setting limits, resting deeply, and choosing relationships that replenish rather than drain. See clearly, but guard your energy. Your clarity is worth preserving.